Hey everyone, and welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we are diving into a really fascinating snapshot in time. August 18th, 2026, straight from the Daily Tech Reader. We're going to use this incredible data to map out two very different kinds of extremes shaping the American experience right now. First, we'll track the physical extremes, the intense late summer weather systems gripping the country. And then, we're going to pivot to the digital extremes, looking at the sheer velocity of AI news dominating the ticker this month. So let's jump right in.
Here's our game plan for today. First, the nationwide heat wave. Second, tracking thunderstorms and smoke. Third, finding the cooler climates. And fourth, today's top tech headlines.
All right, let's start with Section 1, the nationwide heat wave baking the South and Southwest.
Well, if you are anywhere in the southern half of the US today, you are definitely feeling this intense late summer heat. But here's what's really interesting. The dataset doesn't just call it hot or sunny. It literally uses the tag VRY-hot, all caps, one word, to flag cities dealing with exceptional, extreme heat conditions. It's basically a giant red flashing light on the map, telling us exactly where the absolute peaks of this heat wave are centered today.
And here is exactly who gets that brutal VROHT label. Just look at this spread. We have a real mix of suffocating humidity and scorching dry heat. Over on the East Coast, places like Miami Beach and Columbia, South Carolina are sitting at 98 degrees, with lows barely dipping into the high 70s. But then, check out the desert Southwest. Phoenix is roaring at 111 degrees, with a staggering nighttime low of 90. 90 degrees at night? And then down at the very bottom of the table,
we have Yuma, Arizona, hitting a jaw-dropping 112 degrees. Looking at the entire nationwide data set, that makes Yuma the absolute hottest point in the country for this August 18th snapshot. I mean, just imagine trying to cool down in that level of heat.
But it's not just the coasts and the deserts getting roasted. This completely illustrates how the entire state of Texas is just sweltering under a massive heat dome. Almost every major city in the report is hitting triple digits. We've got Austin at 102. Dallas-Fort Worth is baking at 106. And Wichita Falls? No way! Pushing an incredible 108 degrees. This matters immensely because a heat dome traps all this thermal energy right over massive population centers, making things incredibly dangerous for millions of people. This heat is widespread, and it is absolutely relentless.
Okay, let's move on to Section 2, tracking thunderstorms and smoke, atmospheric volatility across the country.
because honestly, heat is only half the weather story today. We're also tracking these massive thunderstorm systems sweeping across some wildly different climates. Just look at the temperature gap here. Up in the Midwest, Chicago and Des Moines are getting storms with relatively mild highs around 80, but as you move south and east, those storms are colliding with massive heat. Denver is seeing storms at 91 degrees, Orlando at 97, and get this, Charleston, South Carolina is getting hammered by severe thunderstorms while baking at 101 degrees. That is a total recipe for intense, muggy volatility.
Meanwhile, shifting our focus over to the Pacific Northwest, the data flags a completely different kind of hazard. No rain, no thunder, just smoke.
Look at how specific this gets. Boise, Idaho, and Spokane, Washington are both dealing with highs in the 90s, but it's combined with these heavily smoky skies. Boise is sitting at 94 and Spokane at 90. When you mix that kind of high summer heat with really compromised air quality, it completely changes the dynamic of how people can even safely step outside their front doors.
So where's the relief? Let's check out Section 3, Finding the Cooler Climates, Escaping the Late Summer Heat.
Seriously, with all this heat, storms, and smoke, where are Americans actually catching a break today? The juxtaposition here is incredible, and it perfectly highlights the vast geographic diversity of the U.S. While Yuma is practically melting at 112 degrees, if you were in Duluth, Minnesota today, you'd be enjoying a beautifully crisp high of just 74 degrees. And if you woke up in Casper, Wyoming, you actually would have felt the chill, with the morning low dropping all the way down to 50 degrees. It's crazy to think these are happening on the exact same day in the same country.
Now, if you want consistent, mild weather today without packing a heavy coat, the West Coast is basically your sanctuary. From the Pacific Northwest down through California, the coastal cities are seeing mostly cloudy skies, keeping temperatures well below the national average. San Francisco matches Duluth with a high of 74. Seattle is right at 78. Even Southern California is getting a massive break. San Diego is a super comfortable 81, and LA is at 89. It is literally the perfect escape from the late summer extremes.
All right, let's switch gears entirely. Section 4,
Today's top tech headlines. The AI news dominating the ticker.
Let's pivot from our physical environment over to our incredibly fast-moving digital one. I mean, the world of AI is moving just as fast, if not faster, than the weather. This timeline perfectly captures the sheer velocity of AI development over just the past month. We're talking major product launches, massive legal battles, and shifting global power dynamics, all crammed into a window of less than 30 days. Let's break down these critical moments.
Starting things off in early July. On the 10th, OpenAI made a huge move, and they didn't just drop a new model. They took direct aim at enterprise knowledge workers. Alongside the launch of GPT 5.6, they rolled out a unified AI workspace called ChatGPT Work. It's a massive signal that AI is stepping way beyond just a simple chat interface and is actually trying to become the central operating system for your workplace.
But, of course, the path forward isn't without massive hurdles. Just 5 days after that huge product launch, the legal friction hit a boiling point. On July 15th, the New York Times filed in court actively seeking sanctions against OpenAI. Why? Well, they're alleging that OpenAI actually withheld evidence related to their training data. This really highlights the ongoing, incredibly high-stakes battle over copyright and the raw data used to build these massive systems.
And as if the corporate and legal battles weren't enough, by early August, the global race totally leveled up. On August 3rd, reports confirmed that China's AI, specifically the moonshot Kimi K3, had successfully matched US frontier models. And the proof is right there. Kimi K3 actually took over the top 10 list on OpenRouter, which is this huge neutral leaderboard where the world's top AI models are tested. The monopoly on top-tier frontier models? Yeah, it's definitely breaking, and this race is officially global.
So, to wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with a provocative thought about our August 18th snapshot. We've looked at the wild extremes of our physical world, 112-degree highs, 101-degree thunderstorms, choking smoke, and we've seen the rapid-fire data from our digital world, with massive AI models launching and global power dynamics shifting in just weeks. So looking at these two totally different landscapes, which one do you think is changing faster? It's definitely a lot to process, but I hope this visual breakdown helped make sense of it all. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep exploring.